that. And I know it was a trying time. Probably didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, but these are the experiences that life will throw at you, and you got to be prepared. And it's going to shape you one way or another. And we hope that it shapes you in a positive way and gives you some energy to make sure you get involved to do some things different as you proceed through your particular journeys. All right.
Yeah. And
So
at a
with that,
minimum, you got a great story.
oh, without outstanding, outstanding.
You got a great story. This is a great story for your last year in high school.
Absolutely.
This is a
And
great story for how did your year end when you graduated from college?
right,
At the house.
right, right.
We was at Smitty house.
Hey, your kids are your kids when you get old enough to have kids and you're 30 and 40, they're gonna ask you, what did you do? You're gonna say, well, I sat around the house. I didn't
That's
even
it
have to go to
around.
school.
That's
You
what
know,
happened in 2020. We was at home.
and you might be the new thing because really, who's to say that things won't change? Who's to say we won't have more people doing online schooling, via Zoom, via whatever, Google Doc, or however they
Yeah.
get down. So you might start at something. So kudos to you too for that. I know maybe you didn't have nothing directly to do with it, but so let's get on to some things, and I will start with Fairfield Unified School District. Actually, they really don't have no further updates at this moment, other than they're still working on gathering input from parents of returning students for following the 2021 school year to see what the possibilities are of opening and what that might look like. So again,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a parent in Fairfield Unified, reach out to your local administrator, principal, someone at the school, and just kind of get a feel, ask questions of what this upcoming year may look like. All right. Um, I know they are actually at this time gathering information from the parents. So don't let the school year start next year and then you're upset and you never even bothered to take time to give your input. All right. So make sure your voice is heard for your child. All right. So that's Fairfield. Um, Vallejo, I still haven't heard nothing from them. However, I did get the opportunity to sit in on Elite Charter Schools board meeting. Thank you, Ms. Tasha Johnson, for that invite. It was eye-opening. It was educational. I applaud you guys' effort in what it is you're doing, and Dr. Bishop um, trying to uh, trying to help some students who might have got left behind or overlooked in a different environment. They got some great things going on there, and I ask you to just look into them, see if you can support them somehow, especially my folks in Vallejo, man. Reach out and just check in on Elite Charter School and see the things they're doing and really see some of the obstacles they're facing that other schools in their district aren't facing because of systematic issues that have been long put in place. All right. Not taking sides, just telling you to do your own due diligence and look in. All right.
Pay attention to what's going on.
Absolutely. Again, don't worry about that background noise. I just like to keep you focused and keep you attracted. Like, man, what's going on in his house? Nothing. So, Travis Unified. Really, there's not much going on. They did have their commencement graduation where it was a drive-through. Talking to a good friend of mine, he says it went okay. But they did do a drive-through kind of ceremony. There was a meeting just Tuesday about extending the Superintendent Conklin's position for a few more years. That got approved, unfortunately. Before that particular meeting, there was a small protest of about 10 or 15 parents from the district pushing for her not to be extended. It was some good, strong words being felt out there. So hopefully they keep the good fight, and the next time that evaluation comes up, they'll look at it differently. But again, not taking sides. I ask you to do your due diligence and just do your background check on the superintendent there and see how that's going. I also do know that they're bringing Principal Sardi back to Vanden next year. So be prepared for that. Then I'll finish up with Vacaville Unified School District. Kudos to those people over there, Ms. Jane Shemaya and her staff. I had the chance to meet with them on Monday. Got some good feedback of what they're trying to accomplish in the district. They're looking to create some committees that both include students, faculty, and parents and other members of the community. I think that's a good start. So we talked on some other things, but I'm going to let Jane send that information out if she chooses to. I think that was just between us. It wasn't nothing secretive. It's just their policy of what they're trying to create over there.
Yeah.
All of that, I would encourage you to get involved with your school's PTA or get involved with the school board. Most school boards meet at least once a month. It's open to the public. And I know right now it's a lot of it's on Zoom, but you can check it out. You have an opportunity to speak and give your input. And as far as the school boards are concerned, I know Travis has 3 seats available up for election this November. 3 seats are open for you to run for. Yes, you. I'm looking right at you. You can run for this as long as you live in the district. Okay. I'm not sure about VACA, what they are up for, but I do know they go every even year. We are 2020, so there's going to be an election this year for one of their seats or 2 of their seats because they do a stagger over 2 years with theirs. All right.
I have districting. Remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're adding one. So Travis is actually adding one. So they're going to have 4 seats available. So again, I ask you, do your due diligence. Get involved with your kid's school. And even your kids have graduated, but you still live in the district, stay involved because it's going to be that kid you help that you don't even know you're helping. LCAP, get involved with the LCAP, local curriculum program. The parents, you have a voice. You got to get involved. Don't keep letting administration and the teachers design this curriculum. It's for you. Look it up. Last thing before I end, shout out to Jackson Forbes. Just signed with San Jose State to play baseball there and get his academic degree.
Nice.
Tiano Hardy, Vacaville basketball athlete player of the year. And then my main man, MJ, Myron Amy, received the Steve Green Memorial Scholarship over at Vaca High. So good job, gentlemen. I applaud your efforts. Way to make your families proud, made to make your school proud. With that, I'm out. Be well, beautiful people.
So Shannon, you want to go ahead and go?
Yeah, I had some community issues. I have frustrations. I have a number of frustrations. And let me just go on and get it out there. Good people, we need to know our history. We need to know what we're actually standing for. We come together, we're constantly speaking on things and issues. When it comes to George Floyd, my heart goes to his family. We have different organizations out here that are out publicly protesting. Black Lives Matter movement. We have NAACP. And I have to say it, but we need to turn around and actually, organizations like this, we need to hold them accountable. They come out in light of police brutality, but when it's black on black crime in our communities, we never see them. We never hear about them in the community. It's like it's a slap in the face to the community. This past weekend, and when I say community, I just don't mean here. This past weekend, we had 25 deaths in Chicago. Memorial Day weekend, we had 200 people shot. Neither one of them groups came out and made any comment or anything. They constantly speak how we need new leadership. Maybe we need new leadership in them organizations. When it comes to our NAACP, I say we leave it in the history books. This is not about politics. This is about us rebuilding our community. I say we put them in history and move on. We've seen what they did to Dr. King, W.E. Du Bois, true founders of this organization that people don't know that because Dr. King wanted to protest, they felt he was being too radical, so they pushed him out. It didn't follow, and it didn't follow in the lines of their politics. So I'm asking that instead of constantly standing up and saying, yeah, we need to support these organizations, start looking at the other organizations. We have our organization, Undivided. We have Broken by Violence. We have a lot of organizations out here that are actually doing good in the community and that can help the community. And before I get too frustrated with this topic, yeah.
Well, you know what though, Shannon, I'm gonna say this. It's not just the idea of these organizations, because organizations are nothing without the people in them. You know what I mean? So we're not just, we're gonna call out these organizations because they do have enough right now to post every once in a while on Instagram or Facebook.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we do need our community's involvement. At the end of the day, I mean, we started off with just the three of us. Now we got this dude. But, you know, it makes everything better because it's the three of us who are out here doing something, or I'm sorry, the four of us out here doing something that is going to progress our communities, that we're giving information, everything that you just gave, everything Smitty just gave, everything that Brian's getting ready to talk about. These are the things that, as we're a community, and you're right, our community, we ain't talking about just Solano.
Right.
Our community goes coast to coast. That's our community. So whoever hears this, you know, this is what we're doing. This is what we're about. So, but you're right. There are established organizations. Matter of fact, Tiffany was telling me how Black Lives Matter is getting a ton of money. Folks, they're just handing them money hand over fist, but for what? Because
now you also have to, but you also have to understand Black Lives Matter is they don't have a centralized system like the NAACP. So people are given a Black Lives Matter, but usually they give them to certain chapters, like you have the Sacramento Black Lives Matter. And so it's not a centralized
yes. So is that good or bad though?
Well, yeah, I think it's good. And the reason I think it's good is because each community has their unique situation that they're dealing with, whether it's the murders and the gang violence in Chicago, the police issues that's been going on in Sacramento. They each have certain issues, individual issues that they're dealing with. And, I just look at Solano County, just with the issue. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, Solano County deals with issues of racism every day. We face it all. Absolutely. From Solano County all the way down. Yesterday in Woodland, which is predominantly Hispanic, I was racially profiled in Walmart, which is not uncommon, and it's became the norm. I hate to say it's even became the norm, but me and my wife, while we were in Walmart, the two cashiers stopped what they were doing to pay attention to me while everybody else was doing what they wanted to do. So regardless of what they were doing and stealing, I was the main concern.
I get that.
Yeah.
And this is a problem. And it's, you know what, the one thing I can say is that we'll never end racism. It's always going to be here.
Yeah.
It's indebted in this system that we live in. But what we do need to do is make people aware. We do need, the same way people are out right now, we need to get them same people out at the polls voting, especially here in Vacaville. I'm not going to take my hat off to Delana Harris because honestly, she's a nobody. She said she's not going to be held accountable for what happened to people before her. It's this white privilege thing. And honestly, a lot of these people that suffer, yes, she is a councilwoman, but she's one that shouldn't be a councilwoman. Just like our chief of police. My comments, and anybody who can see, They go to Undivided, they'll see. It's not that I'm against the police force, but there is no such thing as a good cop. They fail to expose the bad. So no cop can be good until they're willing to accept accountability and take action for their own doing. Do they need? Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to tell you with that city councilwoman. Like I said, I'm in Sacramento, so I'm not privy to the names and faces of the political leaders in Solano County. But just listen, it sounds like those the Karens that everyone's talking about. But when she says that I'm not going to be held responsible, that's just like if you know your kids, you don't know who made the mess inside of that bedroom. But when you walk into that bedroom, it doesn't matter who made the mess; it's still a mess. And whoever's in that bedroom and living in that bedroom, you are responsible to make sure that whatever that mess is, you straighten that mess up and clean it up.
Yeah, you do have responsibility for the cleanup.
You have a big responsibility for the cleanup, especially if you are the one that's receiving the privileges that this mess pretty much gives you. And so, so that is a critical thing. See, man, Brother Shannon, you touched on a whole lot of stuff and got me all fired up right now. Talking about Chicago murders. See, let me tell you something. Listen. Everything that we're going through right now, every single thing we're going through right now, there is a direct line that stretches all the way back to those 12 million enslaved individuals back then. See, we have to understand that this is all by design. White supremacy and systemic racism, which was always talked about in the halls of academia, has now been exposed, and now everybody understands what it is because we're seeing it right before our eyes. When you talk about police officers, when they keep talking about there's a few bad apples, well, let me tell you something. If you have out of 2,000 police officers and only 20 of them, 20 or so are bad apples, well, guess what? If the 1,980 don't say nothing, you actually have 2,000 bad apples in that police force. So the bottom line is this. If you don't clean up and recognize the history of why we're where we're at, if you don't understand that, you're going to just keep talking. You're just going to be talking about how bad it is, but these people have to understand that that this is systemic. It is a systemic issue. I'm going to give you an example. You understand, and you all know this, but I just want to make sure folks that are looking at this understand that once slavery is ended, soon as 5 days after slavery ended, they assassinated the president who was responsible for that happening. 5 days. 5 days. And then from that point forward, you had a KKK terrorist organization created to make sure that those people that were for those people that look like us, to make sure that they will never be respected as full citizens of the United States. Now, that was since the days that we were released from bondage. And so the system was never even really made for us. It was actually codified in our founding documents that we weren't even, not only not citizens, but we weren't even human beings. You understand that? So from that day forward, they denied us Social Security, which was available to everyone, except those who were servants, those who did domestic labor, those who did basically 75% of the jobs that we as Black people performed, which was the only jobs available to us. They exempted us from being able to take advantage of Social Security. So that's back in the 30s.
Yeah.
Okay? So you go all the way to the GI Bill, which was a huge advancement in terms of ending income inequality, where folks had an opportunity to get their education paid for. They were able to get low interest rate loans. I mean, just expanded the middle class. But soon as a black family tries to apply for a housing loan in an area, property values went down exponentially because of that black face. So banks said, oh, that's not going to happen. I know you're a soldier, but guess what? We're not going to give you that loan. In fact, bottom line is you're going to stay in this area where property taxes are going to remain low, where you're going to have poor schools. They denied us the loans that others had. It's all systemic. All the way to 1965, when the Kerner Commission investigated poverty. And from that time, on that report, it stated that the ghettos are a creation created by white supremacy in a presidential document in 65. So this has always been known, but has never been addressed or acknowledged. So fast forward to 1968, where we had this law and order president come in called Richard M. Milhouse Nixon, who inspired the busing situation, who inspired this moral majority in terms of basically just creating this welfare state, or quote unquote welfare state, that they created to keep us always dependent. Fast forward to them and this whole situation with the judicial system, where a person that's of color and is hooked on a form of cocaine gets a sentence 10 times more than their white counterpart who has the same cocaine in a powder form. All these things, and this is just as recently as the 80s and the 90s. And then you see Rodney King, where it's exposed that violence against black bodies is exposed to the world. You saw it with your own eyes. Those aren't your lying eyes. Those are your real eyes, seeing this black man getting beat and the 4 officers being acquitted. That goes back to the 1964 race riot, where, all of these things have all traced back to the time they brought us here on those boats.
Until now, yeah.
Until now.
And you do. It's a consistent thing that how we talked about before about how we're not really down to go protest. And it's one of those things where we've seen it. You just mentioned Rodney King. We've seen what happened when the verdict came back from there. It was rioting, it was a whole bunch, but then there was no solutions at the end of it. Even as recent as Trayvon Martin, we protested, went out and bought T-shirts, we bought hoodies, it became a whole thing, but what came after it is what the thing that we need to be focusing on now. What are we gonna do, in November? Because right now it's June, it's nice outside, everybody's been cooped up, we got something to go out and protest about, but are we gonna keep this energy when it comes time to vote?
And the problem,
you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. This is all, and Smitty and I have hit on it pretty well. This is all fun and it's great, and we're all out here, and we done got our white brothers and sisters out here with picket signs and out here yelling at cops, forming barriers in front of black folks. If they start shooting, stand behind me T-shirts, we get it, but I go back to, what are we gonna do in November though? Are we gonna take this energy and keep it going? Because we were stretched thin on Tuesday, trying to make sure that we was able to view all these meetings.
Hey, but kudos to us, man. We got it done.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. We did a lot, man. I had 3 devices going on at all times.
Same here, man.
It was a whole thing. But with Vacaville saying that, let's look at Vacaville Police Department getting $42 million so they can hire 91 new police officers.
And it's not,
that doesn't have
but but it's not just the police department. And here's what people keep failing to look at. When we talk about our police force, we need to, and for everybody that becomes a member and joins Undivided, they'll see there's a list of policies that I said it's a starting point for our police force.
Yeah.
Right now, our police force is not about the people. It's became a military. We
Well,
have a tank in Vacaville.
Yes,
What do
they
we
do.
need a
That's
tank
still
for?
fun.
Yeah, what do we need a tank for in Vacaville? We have a
Well-
SWAT team. Which, why do we need a SWAT team? We're not a major city. So,
We
and
don't
this
have
is
a lot
what,
of bank. And that's my point. And that's exactly my point. You want to hire, what does it look like when you have 91 extra police officers in your city that is right now, there's not enough crime. I don't think personally, because when I think of cities with crime, I think of Oakland, Richmond, San Francisco, LA, Chicago. You know, those are cities with real crime. Even Vallejo, real crime. Vacaville had what, 4,100 arrests last year? 4,100 arrests. And that's what they're going to, we had 4,100 arrests. Okay, great. You had 5 homicides. 3 of them were domestic violence. What y'all really dealing with? That you need 91 more police officers. And what was it, Shannon? What was it? You guys, do you remember? It was 1 that was going to Child Protective Services.
it was
It was a breakdown.
it was a breakdown, and it was one in
one's
mental
going to
health
Protective
services.
Services.
We
The
have
other
one
one's
working
going to-
homicide. We have
Yeah.
one working homicide. We have one working mental health, child protective services. We have,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I look, we had like 15 sergeants.
Yeah, something ridiculous.
Yeah, but
And mind
I was
you,
just going to tell you shit. I was just going to tell you, Ray.
well, let me
The
just,
reason why
Brian,
is
let me
this.
just finish this one thing.
Go ahead.
Let me finish this one part. My problem is, what does that turn your city into? Because you're hiring out of fear right now.
That's the point I was going to make.
You're hiring. Fairfield's the same way. Fairfield wants to give their police department 40% of their budget. 40%. To say, here you go. When they got a homeless problem, they have Fairfield and Vacaville both have housing issues. They have mental health issues. They have school homelessness issues. And even the fire department only got $29 million.
Right.
That's a shame.
And you know what they need to look at? Like I said, I'm not going to say we don't need law enforcement, but people need to wake up and know that, yes, while we need law enforcement, it's the type of law enforcement. Our police officers, honestly, they should have an education. And Troy, I know you're against it, but I have to go with the exclusion. You're ex-military, Brian's ex-military, I'm ex-military. We all know our military vets. Our military vets that go and become cops is just like being on base. What did you do when you got bored? You found something to do. And that's the same thing that these cops are doing, okay? Just like being deployed overseas. Things happen. You get bored, you find stuff to do. You make up stuff to do. And that's what's going on.
Yeah, but here's the deal. But I just want to pick up what Troy was saying about, we marched, we've done all these things. What do we do? And we're talking about this police issue. The bottom line is this, is the reason why they're able to do that, and the reason why they're able to get away with that, is that the voices that are sounding off on the error and just really in their ways, those voices are just right here. Those voices aren't at the table speaking to those who are making these decisions, period. And see, the thing is, here's the problem. We are so caught up as Black people in the despair of our situation, we forget the fact that there were people who have died to give us the solution.
Yeah.
You understand what I said? There were people that came from New York down to Mississippi and died to give folks the right to vote. But we've lost sight of the power of that franchise because we're so caught up in our despair, and that's even by design. Because even the entertainment we watch and the music we listen to, we only talk about the despair and issues and things that have no relevance on moving us forward. That's all by design. So we have to find a way to make sure that we connect those deaths and what those deaths accomplish to the solutions to the problems we now face. That's the solution. Because if we had more voices that look like you and I at the table, we're talking about budget. We could bring up the fact that what is the return on the investments we're making right now? Why is it that these police officers are making, the one who shot that kid in Vallejo, why is it that that person makes more money than the governor himself? Why is that? Who's asking these questions? Why are we spending this money when those monies could be invested in a way that's actually going to move our community forward as opposed to exactly. And so that fear, it's all fear, false evidence appearing real. And that false evidence, again, is by design, based in, and we'll say it again, white supremacy and fear of Black bodies.
Well, I mean, and we have to look at it in the idea of, we have city councils that preach diversity, they preach inclusion, but then you look at their city council.
Right.
And I will say this, it comes a point where we do actually have to get involved. We actually have to stand up for them to turn us down. You know, we have to get to that point. You know, we have to make sure, like Brother Smitty was saying, where we were talking earlier, we have to get people who want to run, go run. If you want to be on a board, take the time out in your day. Take the time. Just like now, we're taking the time. We will continue to take the time to make this happen. But so it's like that catch-22. We can't complain about not having a seat at the table if we don't even get up and try to get to the table.
Absolutely.
Right. But
you know
what we do have to look at. We have to look at Brother Smitty on that one. And that's what I would like to leave off on. Instead of people asking, and that's what they're doing now, they're asking for a seat at the table. No, just get up and go take one.
Yeah.
That's what we're about. We go take our seats. We make ourselves known. We stay undivided. We stay collectively as a group. There's more of us. And all these people out here videotaping what these cops are doing wrong, pass your phone on. And
no.
Stop.
No.
Yes.
Rick, no.
No.
We're not going to, no.
Yes.
No. That's not a solution. No.
That is a solution.
That is not. Yes, that's a solution. You trying to get somebody to. So we're going to have to march twice. For the dude who was victimized and then for the second dude who got victimized. No.
You know what, bro?
That is not, I'm not, I let that police thing go. That one I'm not letting go.
Hey, but Brother Shannon, I have to give you props on that though, because what you're saying is everybody has a role to play.
Got that right.
No, not that role.
Everybody
does have a role to play. How about we look at it like this? How about we say, you know what your role is? Make sure you videotape that. Make sure you yell at them cops. Make sure you stand close enough to those cops are feeling uncomfortable. And then when it comes time to testify, you're the first one in line. To make sure when it comes time to vote for your police chief or your mayor or your police commissioner or your DA that allow that cop to get, the cop in Minneapolis, what he had 19 already written complaints against him filed away. He was allowed to continue. We go back to what you were saying before, Brian, about parents. Is it the parents' fault or is the child's fault that the child acts up? I'm firmly believing that it's the parents' fault. I'll put that.
It's all our fault.
I'll put that in the responsibility of, if the police officer has been allowed to act this way 19 times and it's been filed up, Let me know one job that lets you mess up 19 times.
Right.
Well, Troy,
Just one 19.
Troy, you know what?
What, Shannon?
We can't blame all the parents. We have to take accountability for that ourselves.
Hold on,
We
you're not
know.
listening to me.
No, I
In
heard
this
what you said.
case, the parents are, put it like this. If he was somebody's child, you gonna let him hit your wife 19 times and keep telling him to stop?
No.
Or you gonna hit him back and tell him, you know what, you need to stay in your place. Or you gotta leave because you can't do that here. They allowed that police officer to commit 19 crimes, and they allowed him to continue to go to work. Like I said, give me one job. Smitty, they're gonna let you crash a diesel 19 times, but they say, bro, we gotta take your license. The second time you do that, you ain't got a job.
You ain't even gonna get a second time. I'm gonna tell you straight up.
And you
see
got to
what I'm
also.
saying? So
I hear what
hold
you.
on. So when I say we're blaming the parents are the mayor, the police chief, the sergeants, the DA's office, the policeman's union, who has covered for this man 19 times. That's been counted, because if he's done 19, if he got caught for 19, he ain't got caught for 22. We know how that math works. So, that's who, if at the top, if it trickles down that we're not going to allow this, it won't happen. I'm sorry, it will happen, but folks will become more accountable. So when we get upset at the police chief, we get upset at the mayor, we get upset at the city council, because they're the one who is setting the standard that this kind of behavior is okay. Because if it wasn't, they wouldn't be out there doing it so readily. We letting this, what was it, the New York, what's his name? The New York union guy who went on a whole tirade about, oh, are we animals out here? I'm like, dude, are you kidding me?
And he was only mad because they're going to be making their incident records public.
Yes, and now all of a sudden he offended. What you trying to hide? What are you trying to hide? If it becomes a thing, I forgot what city it was, but they were saying that every time they want to pass a law that says every time a police officer draws his weapon, he has to fill out a report. The head of that union, do we really want these guys filling out that much more paperwork? It's like, are you kidding me? Paperwork is the reason for you not wanting to get involved?
But you know
serious?
what, Troy?
Okay.
Troy, I feel you with that, Troy. I feel you, but because I don't want it, and I have to be in agreement. Yes, all it seems like that we're just bashing on cops. I don't want it to be like that. No, I don't agree with the tactics that they're using. And yes, I will say, everybody, and like Brian said, everybody has a role. You have the role of that politician. Whereas me, I'm always going to be militant. And best believe, if I see something happening, I will step in because it's not right. And yes, I would hope somebody else would do that. At the end of the day, when we're out here, we have to understand, just as we're parents ourselves, all of us are parents. If that's our child out there, that's somebody else's child. They would want somebody to step in. If it was your child, you would hope somebody would step in. Yeah. I watched the video where in Stockton, a 15-year-old kid jaywalked. All these people videotaping, nobody helped this kid with this grown man beating. I have a problem with that, okay? So yes, if I seen it, I would have stepped in. And the consequences would have been what they would have been. It's to a point to where we have to be reasonable with certain things, yes. But at the same time, we do need to take that forceful action by any means necessary. I am with my brother Malcolm. You can constantly say, no, I won't be peaceful on that. Because honestly, if my kid gets tossed around, I want somebody to step in.
Right. Here's the thing that I want to ask you, brothers, though, and just for you to just kind of think about it. We've been in crisis for the past 400 years.
True.
And in fact, I think that's the name of the magazine from NAACP back in the day. It was called The Crisis.
It's
Yeah.
still called that.
That was actually the magazine. And what I'm suggesting and I'm putting out there is that we have to have a crisis posture at this point, because right now the fire is hot, or the gritty, or the you know, I don't know what the phrase is, but this is the moment right now that, since it's all out there on the table, we have to act as if we don't do anything now, nothing will ever happen again. And we need to motivate everyone around us. It's not just about you, it's about us as a collective doing what we are all called to do to make a contribution to this problem and solving this problem in any way and every way we can. This is the crisis moment right now. And we got to operate as if, you remember how in the military, you guys remember when you had DRF 1, 2, and 3, where if you had 1, that's it. You might as well just count on it. If something goes down, 18 hours later, you're going to be in the zone, right?
Yeah.
We need to be on a DRF1 posture right now. That means that everything we do is going to be an equity, justice-minded posture and position in everything. When we go to work, it's going to be justice-minded and equity-minded. When we see anything, we see that kid jaywalking, getting jacked up, we're in crisis mode right now. So I'm just saying, if we're going to do it, we need to be in crisis mode. In other words, we're not going to just talk about it, we're going to be about it, but encouraging others, not just folks that even look like us, those that are our allies. We all need to be in crisis mode right now to make the change. Because if we don't, all we're doing right now is all going to fall for naught, and it's all going to be just forgotten until the next crisis. We need to keep the tempo up right now.
I agree with you, B, and I will say this so we can keep it moving along, so everybody can give their quick reports. I think we got Brian and Troy to finish up with. Is I agree with you wholeheartedly that you know, it's time to actually hold someone accountable. And I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to point out any names, but best believe when I hop on later and do my own video that represents myself, so I don't want to jeopardize anybody's relationships. That's not the type of person I am. All of us in here are this together, and I think we're all on the same. Actually, I know we're all on the same page. But I will say this in general, so we can move on, is that when we have people in positions that can talk to city leaders, law enforcement, and anybody else that has their hand on the policy, the writing of the policy and procedures. When we have people in positions to have those conversations, those people need to ask the right questions and stop beating around the bush. You can't keep, how do we do this, and let's get along and build a relationship. And I'm going to end with this before I sound like Shannon. The relationship, this goes to every person right now who can hear me, and please share it. The relationship from the Black community and everybody else has been in place for 400 plus years. The relationship is there. The problem is the relationship has been one-sided. That's the problem. So again, I say to anybody that has a chance to get to the table and speak on behalf of Black folks, ask meaningful questions and demand meaningful change. Other than that, you wasting the seat. I'm sorry, go ahead, fellas. Let's stay on course.
You know what, Smitty? You've been sitting there fighting off flies.
You seen that?
I seen that. And looking out for that dog and doing all. You've been quiet for like the last. And this is why we do this, because I've been waiting for you to say something.
I had to make sure I was articulately, or I had to make sure that I was not infringing on you guys' voice, because I think each of us has a powerful voice and the message needs to be heard without interference, you know. But at the same time, I want to make sure we stay on course to deliver our goods to the people, you know. So
Yes. Yes. Just in case everybody knows, Smitty is the one who keeps us in line and keeps it going.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes,
his
he does.
role. You see that, Shannon? That's his nonviolent role.
Yeah, you know what? And
You
I
see
will
that?
say
You
this.
see how that happened? That's a very effective, but you know, we ain't bringing out the AKs.
Let's get to
Right,
the
and
point.
you know what? So in closing, just know we have to let the community know we are
Mhm.
doing this for the community,
Absolutely.
and it's about taking
Absolutely.
action. You see us out here every other week. We are undivided. We will be out everywhere. You can reach out to any of us. We will be there for you. So with that being said, fellas, Troy, I'll let you say your goodbyes.
You sending them off? I don't even think Troy had a chance to give his
No, I'll shut it down. You know, we got a few minutes. You know what? But no, I did. I do want to shut it down with the idea of, you know, what we're about. And we're not about your position. We are about your cause. And if we have to, as my brother Smitty put it so eloquently, if we got to tell you what that cause is, then, you know, no. So we are out everywhere. We're expanding where we're going to be out. We're going to be out supporting those that we see who are supporting our communities. We're going to be out there helping those who need help, and however we can. You know, no matter what
just real quick, Troy, I just want to make sure before it's closed up, if you are having any question on what you can do or about your own skills and talents, make sure you get a hold of me, and we'll make sure everyone knows that you just get a hold of either one of us. But I'll help coach you to help you find out who you are and what it is that you can do to make
Very good.
Each one teach one. Good looking out, babe. Appreciate you, man.
That's right. There you go. Each one teach one. We're telling you what we're about if y'all paying attention. You know, we're letting you know. So yeah, I mean,
we're running out of
time.
time.
I enjoyed myself. I hope everybody else did. Shannon, I know you did.
Hey, Beatrice, before we go, thank you. Thank you, Beatrice, for doing all of this. Appreciate you.
Thank you, B.
Thumbs up, girl. Y'all have a good night.
All right.
Remember, like the
Y'all
page,
be well, people.
Undivided, it's a movement.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Click on bruh. Find out what Myrtle's place is about. We're doing this, people.
Yes,
So
sir.
everybody have a good night.
All right. Be well.
Y'all take care.
Yeah.